We welcome you back to our preview of Tuesday's election, and with us again, Democratic strategist Andre Richardson, Alexander Wilkes, the Executive Director of America Rising PAC, and Eric Enquist, Assistant Managing Editor for Crain's New York Business. All right, let's talk about the governor's race here in New York. You've got an incumbent, Andrew Cuomo.
Going into his third term, I think the Democratic primary was very healthy for Governor Cuomo. Cynthia Nixon, she was, somewhat of a formidable candidate, even though she lost by, 20, 30 points. But I think it pushed him to think about, start thinking about other progressive measures. And he's done some great stuff. Like, New York State is one of the toughest gun reform states in the country. Right now, not much of a campaign that's happening. He's up by about 25 points or so. He's got about $9 million in the bank. His opponent has about $200,000 in the bank. I'd say he's longer than a long shot.
So Mark Molinaro is whom he's challenging on Tuesday. Alexander, your thoughts on Mark Molinaro?
Well, so I actually think that the New York governor's race is really more about 2020 rather than 2018, because of course we know that Governor Cuomo has his sights on the White House. He has for some time, and actually the primary with Cynthia Nixon, I think, threw a wrench into those plans, because he had previously sort of becoming a progressive on his own terms, whether it was draping his arm around Bernie Sanders and talking about free college tuition. He had sort of this plan mapped out, but then Cynthia Nixon and, of course, his ever the foe, Bill de Blasio, have kind of thrown some wrenches in for him there. And so I think that, what the primary actually revealed, and especially I think what Mark Molinaro has revealed in talking about some of the negative ads that Cuomo's been running and talking about his unwillingness to debate, he's revealed Andrew Cuomo to be sort of the small person that he is. We know that this is a person that doesn't get along with the press, that this is a person who, frequently lashes out when he's challenged. That's not something that voters in Iowa are going to take too kindly to. And so I think the primaries really exposed that.
Eric, we'll come back to Cuomo 2020 possibly in a second, but your thoughts on Tuesday in the governor's race here in New York?
Well, I'm actually very impressed with Mark Molinaro as a candidate, but again, he's picked the wrong state and the wrong year to run. I mean, you look at his resume and you look at his history and you listen to his policies and the way he talks, it's very impressive. He's not an extremist, he's more of a policy wonk. But he's running in an environment where New Yorkers are primarily concerned with stopping Donald Trump. And he's on the Republican ticket, and his opponent, Governor Cuomo, has very wisely made Trump the center of this campaign, even though Trump really doesn't have a whole lot to do with this race at all. And who wins the governorship of New York, unlike a congressional race, doesn't have much of an effect on Donald Trump either. It's not like Cuomo's a check on Trump, but Cuomo has made this, he's gone to national issues because that's what's motivating New Yorkers. I actually don't think he wants to be president. I don't think he's going to run for president. I think he sees this anti-Trump crusade he's on as a way of bolstering his own governorship and making him more popular in New York. And it's working. It really is working. He's branded Mark Molinaro a Trump mini-me. In fact, Molinaro is very little like Trump. Cuomo's, in my view, much more like Trump as a politician than Molinaro is. And that's in part why he's winning, believe it or not, because he's doing what it takes to win.
All right, so let's talk about Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, the Democrat, trying to hold on to her Senate seat, and her challenger, Shel Farley. Your thoughts on this race?
I mean, this, again, like to your guest's earlier point, I think this is more about 2020 as well. I mean, the margin here is somewhere in the neighborhood of like 35–40%. They've had one debate. Kirsten Gillibrand has also been on the right side of a lot of issues. She was out in the forefront on the Me Too movement. She's garnered national attention. I think folks are going to be looking at her as a top-tier candidate in 2020.
Alexander, your thoughts?
She's absolutely among those, those in the Democratic Party who are seriously considering a run in 2020. Put her up there with Elizabeth Warren and Cory Booker. She has spent a lot of the last year angling towards that goal. And in fact, the one debate that we got to see between Kirsten Gillibrand and her opponent, she really used the opportunity more to score national political points than she did really to speak about issues that are more local to New York. York. So I think that this has really been about, for her, creating a national profile. She vowed to serve out 6 years in the Senate, but so did another famous senator, Senator Barack Obama. So I think that, I wouldn't put too much stock in that pledge.
Your thoughts on this race, sir?
I agree. You put no stock in a pledge when a candidate says, I'm going to serve out my full 6-year term, not run for president. I honestly don't think that should be an issue at all. I mean, they're politicians. They run for office. I mean, that's what they do. I don't think we should rule out as presidential candidates anyone who said, I'm going to serve my full 6-year term and then doesn't do it. We'd lose a lot of candidates that way, and we'd narrow the field. I think the whole purpose of Shel Farley's campaign on the Republican side, not to win, but to try to poke some holes in Gillibrand, including to get her to make that pledge, which she did during their one debate. But then, within 48 hours, Gillibrand was already walking that back. So it doesn't look like she is, guaranteeing she's going to serve 6 years, nor should she have to guarantee she's going to serve 6 years. Is she a contender for president? She's, in my view, a long shot, but she has not gone near controversial issues. She has played it very safe. Like some of her issues she's championed is like anti-sexual abuse in the military. Well, who's for sexual abuse, right? Not to say that she's done a bad job. She's done a great job on that issue. But it's not something that's going to get people against you the way people were against Hillary Clinton.
And coming back, we're going to talk about other key races to look for on Election Day, some nationally, when we return.